I also want to introduce my colleague and friend Lisa Wycliffe, who is a marine spatial ecologist with NOAA's National Centers for Coastal Ocean Science in Beaufort, North Carolina, and she's going to be giving the talk with me. So, as Andrea said, I also work on the Marine Cadastre project with my partners at the Ocean and Coastal Management Group of NOAA in Charleston, South Carolina. And so Lisa and I are really here just to fascinate you with our new tool that we are currently calling the Ocean Reporting Tool. So if you have better names, you can let me know what you think. Okay, so what is an ocean reporting tool, and why do we need an ocean reporting tool? So everybody in this room, I think, is aware that geospatial data is very important when we're trying to plan anything in the coastal and offshore areas, and this could be anything from regulation, permitting, rulemaking, and conservation of natural resources. And with the Marine Cadastre that's been around for at least 10 years now, we've been making authoritative data available from a number of federal sources, all of which work in some part of the ocean and coastal realm, available to the public and anyone who needs it for any kind of planning effort. What we have within that tool are viewers and also a data registry so that you can look up the data, download the data, look at the metadata, and bring it into your own GIS if you like. But what it doesn't allow you to do is any kind of geospatial analysis on the fly within that viewer. So we've heard a lot from different ocean industries over the years that they'd like to see a little bit more spatial analysis, and most of them tend to want the same data layers primarily. So coastal managers who are making these decisions really need easy access to the best available authoritative data that we can provide for them. And some examples of the industries that we're talking about are the oil and gas industry and the offshore wind industry and sand and gravel for beach replenishment, which is sort of the BOEM side of the house. And then we have transportation and navigation. And we also are looking at aquaculture as well. So, trying to answer some of these geospatial analysis questions, the Marine Cadastre team began around 2016 trying to put together a pilot project tool focused on the South Atlantic area. And we started building this tool, and we thought it was a really cool idea, and we got a lot of feedback, and we went to some of the stakeholders in the South Atlantic and got feedback from them. And along the line, we started talking to some of the folks in Lisa's shop who were really interested and had a Department of Energy grant to build some sort of a mapping tool to help with siting and permitting aquaculture. And instead of trying to build a tool for them and a tool for our needs, we wanted to make sure that we incorporated the needs of the NCOS group into our ocean reporting tool as best possible so that we can have an even bigger collaboration than we already have. So now what we've got and almost ready to release sometime very early in the next year is a reporting tool that includes the entire exclusive economic zone, a whole lot more infographics in it than we started with, and another theme than we had before that's really going to be focused on helping out that aquaculture component. Okay. So I'm really just going to go over the functional parts of the tool, and then Lisa is going to talk about that whole new aquaculture component of the tool that we've been working on so hard for the last year. So the primary features of the tool itself really are you choose or draw an area and you get a really quick on-the-fly calculation for about 80 infographics and 6 different themes. And once you have that report, you can turn on and off the map layers with a little viewer on the side, and then you can share that report. It'll give you a short URL that you can share with someone else or keep for later, or you can actually print it to a PDF. So the first thing you do, like I said, is you can draw your area of interest, and it'll come back with a report. Or like I said, we have these things called quick reports, and the quick report basically are these areas that might be a little bit more difficult for somebody to draw, like the entire state waters area off of a state, or the adjacent federal waters off a state, or a marine protected area like a sanctuary. So One of our developers gave me this particular slide, and I'm just totally amazed by it, because when we started out, we were nowhere near this fast. We are providing for every single time somebody draws something, 80 infographics using 97 queries, 157 different layers, all done within 5.5 seconds or less, and each query is taking less than a second. We also provide a variety of tools and functions for you to play with the map and zoom in and out of your area or create your area. And the first is to be able to zoom into your AOI. How many of you have actually drawn something and then sort of backed out of it and then tried to figure out where's my box? So all you have to do then is just click on this little tool here, and it'll take you right back. And then we also have a search function where you can actually type in a place name along the coast or something that's in the water area, such as George's Bank, and it'll take you right to that. We also have a measure tool, and we have a put your own coordinates tool in there, a variety of base maps, including the nautical charts. You can just start out by picking a region and sort of, pan around and figure out where you want to go. And then we also have our layers tool right on the map portion of the infographics tool, and that allows you to turn some of the layers on and off here instead of within the infographics, or clear them all out, or turn them on either by theme area or industry area. And then, like I said, we had the quick reports. Every one of our infographics has some common components. The first of which, of course, would be your title. Then most of them have some sort of little information that's not actually on the infographic, so you just click the little information button in, and it'll give you other information, such as what is the algorithm we use to create this particular statistic. Then we also have your map layer toggle, so one or more map layers may be available for this particular infographic. And of course, we have a description that tells you what is this data, where is it coming from, what might you want to use it for, what sorts of industries might use this data. And then all of the infographics have either charts or lists or area computations, and this is the area where you're going to see your geospatial data statistics. And then we also have some sort of interactive part of a lot of the infographics, so you can expand the list if it's been truncated to make room on the report, or you can hover over the parts of the charts to see the percentages. There may be a slider bar or something like that. And then, of course, we have to have rules for every one of these infographics, so we state right down at the bottom of each one, what's the rule that we use to actually compute these statistics? So, for instance, here, you're looking at cetacean biologically important areas, and it's not just showing whether they occur in that box you drew, but because we talk to the industry representatives and ask them for every single infographic, what is the important distance, or, how many do you want to come back with on that infographic? So it's going to just, in this case, tell you what's inside the box and what's 10 miles outside the box as well. So I'm really quickly going to go through all the 6 themes, and I've got listed on top of each one of these images all the current layers that we have included in the themes. I'm not going to read them all to you. I might mention a few. But the first one is just basic general information. So this is, what's the area calculation? What are the places that are near your area? What are the federal statutes in that area? We have energy and minerals. So these are things like, where are the leases for wind, oil and gas, sand and gravel? What are the plans for these areas in the future? And where do we have ocean disposal sites or beach nourishment projects going on that benefited from sand and gravel extraction? We also have all the natural resources and conservation layers that we have in the marine cadastre that we think work within this tool. And so these are critical habitats. Where are the species, like highly migratory species, where do they tend to be? All the way down to historical lighthouses. And then one of our biggest layers, as far as number of layers, is transportation and infrastructure. There's a lot of stuff out there, and we need to know where it is so that we can make plans around it. You don't want to dig through a submarine cable, and you certainly don't want to put your wind farm in the middle of a traffic area. And then we also have economics and commerce, which comes out of NOAA's eNow data, and it's not a whole lot of layers, but it's very valuable, and it can tell you what the economic conditions from the maritime economics are in an area. And finally, we have our newest theme, which is the Oceanographic and Biophysical, which we put in here primarily to support the aquaculture portion of the tool. And I'm going to, since Lisa's the aquaculture queen, I'm going to actually hand this off to her at this point. Thanks.
Chris, I am so humbled by you, and thank you so much for going through this and allowing me to be a part of this project. We are so fortunate that both the Office for Coastal Management at NOAA and BOEM allowed us to jump in, and we said we need to be a part of this. So I'm part of the, within NCOS at NOAA, I'm part of the Coastal Aquaculture Siting and Sustainability Group. Why aquaculture, right? Why are we even talking about this? Aquaculture is right now it is the fastest growing agricultural sector in our nation at 13% per year. We have 90% of our seafood that it's imported. We also have so that's a lot. About 50% of that is from aquaculture. That gives us a lot of uncertainty in where our food's coming from, where it's grown, and what the environmental conditions are for that. So we need more homegrown seafood. That's what it comes down to. We also have restorative functions, such as using macroalgae for either energy or for bioremediation. Same with shellfish. Can either be used for food, or we can use this as a bioremediation technique. So this is all new to the United States in a relative sense, moving into the open ocean and federal waters and starting these projects. Internationally, this has been going on for years, so we're kind of late in the game. Coming into this, I wanted to start with a quote, and it really kind of hits on why spatial planning is so important. And one of our strategic partners from the Aquarium of Pacific, Jerry Shuvel, said this: the solution to sustainable aquaculture is marine spatial planning, responsible management, and siting of aquaculture farms. I take that very much to heart in my day-to-day life and try to do that. So we saw this tool as one way of getting at that. One of the things that we really needed to get to our coastal managers, our user group, was oceanographic and biophysical data. Why do we need this? Cultivated species have thresholds for temperature, salinity, numerous other factors that will go into that. We also don't want to put something like a finfish farm in the middle of an area that's already eutrophied. So we need to look at nutrient levels. Nutrients can also be used as a proxy for, is this a good spot for macroalgae? We also wanted to look at things at depth. And we need to do this because a lot of the cages are actually submersed, okay? And so these are not at the surface. These are 30 meters down. These are deep cages. And so we found a very good use, as Keith mentioned this morning, the ecological marine units. We started speaking with Keith, and we said this is going to be a great way to integrate data at depth. And so using that, that's exactly what we did. I'm going to shoot through some of these layers because we are running out of time. I do want to mention a couple of the tools that we are integrating just for aquaculture here. One of those is the Exclusionary Base Map. The Exclusionary Base Map is kind of a quick and dirty way to look at these tier 1 or major constraints to basically development of infrastructure within your ocean space. And it basically lumps all these together. And these tier 1 areas are definite no-go areas for anything. We have conditionally constrained areas, but they're generally not part of this layer. This way, you don't have to toggle through all the layers and look at every single one. You can turn in the base map, get a basic idea, and then go ahead and put in the components that you want to look at. All right, so I'm going to kind of go through all these, and what you're going to see is we have processed this data. This is significant wave height, period, and direction that you're looking at right now. These data came actually from our partners at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory and NREL. And we did a 20-year climatology, and then we distilled it down monthly. And then we came up with metrics that we thought we needed for each monthly phase. Because this project is the entire United States, seasonality doesn't really work well, right? So monthly was the way to go. So what you're seeing here is sea surface height. You can see on the left-hand side, you can see the infographics that's showing you the monthly stuff, and then you can see actually the data but we can't show it all at once as far as standard deviation. That's how the infographics really come into play here. In this case, we have a wave rose that's giving us our major wave directions, and then you can also, so we have an annual mean on the screen for display purposes. I'm going to kind of click through these relatively quickly now because I know we're running out of time. But as you can see, we have wind speed and direction at the same climatology for the entire US EEZ, all the way from 0 to 200 nautical miles off our shore. And you can go through month by month and look at this data. These data are current speed and direction are from the HICOM data set. We have this at 39 depth levels. So yes, currents do occur at depth. We know this. So as you go through, you can actually go through, look at the min and max current for a location. You can change the depth and look at it for that particular depth. And we can start to really kind of formulate a better picture at the current speeds and whether or not the gear will hold up to that. So again, the gear, as far as mooring lines, things like that, these are moored structures most of the time. And so we have to take these parameters into consideration. Another one that we had to do was sea surface height. If you think about it and you think about the Coriolis, the bulge of water moving around the ocean, it's ocean topology is what you're looking at. So what you're seeing here is the standard deviation of sea surface height. And so this is going to be used for the relative length of mooring lines and how much adjustment needs to be added in there for the differential in height. This is an example of temperature and salinity. As you can see on the left, there is a depth profile that goes with this. You can click on any of those spots to see that information. And this layer that you're seeing is temperature. We have another one that you can toggle on. You can see there on the side, and you can toggle on salinity as well. This is the EMU data. This is part of it, okay? So we were able to generate these depth profiles for nutrients, which is a huge ask from the Department of Energy in that project, and looking at, at what depths are we seeing high levels of nutrients? Is upwelling occurring in these regions? And really start to formulate a better picture about where we have high, levels of nitrate, phosphate, silicate, and aragonite for these projects. Light attenuation. So light attenuation is a big factor when we come to macroalgae and macroalgae go. How far down is the light penetrating? How turbid are the waters? So this really helps us get at that and whether or not there's enough light availability at a certain spectrum. And you can see this light attenuation is for KD-PAR or photosynthetic active radiation for plants. And it's specifically showing you, where the clearest waters are and where the more turbid waters are. Lastly, chlorophyll A. For this one, I would say it's most pertinent to shellfish aquaculture and the fact this is their food, right? And so if you look at current speed together with chlorophyll A, you can get a rate of the food that is available to the oysters or to whatever shellfish that you're trying to cultivate. So this gives us a better idea about that, but it can be an area where competition may be occurring. If, for instance, you have you have high levels of chlorophyll A, you want to cite macroalgae there, there's already high competition. It may not be the best area. So there's multiple uses for this layer as well. So next steps, we're going to printed reports for pre-permitting or pre-application meetings. So these are meetings that occur with multiple federal agencies before an application is actually even put in for aquaculture. User feedback, we're going to constantly be looking for that throughout the year. And as Christine mentioned, if you have a name, shoot it out there for us. The official rollout will be in January of 2019. You can visit this and that website that's up there, but we would very much like all of you to go out there and go to the computer and check out the U.S. Ocean Reporting Tool and play with it. Draw your own box, see what comes up. Toggle things on and off. With the current speed, you can move it up and down to different depths. It's fantastic and phenomenal technology that we've brought together as a team, and it can't be done without collaboration, communication, and teamwork. So I highly emphasize that to all of you, and I thank you very much for your time today.